So, hi, good morning. Good. So, now we'll be starting with the new chapter, Regional Power of Bengal. So, out of all the regional powers, this is the most important one, and not just from the perspective of the exam, but also from the perspective of the British establishment in India. If there wouldn't have been Bengal, it is said that if there wouldn't have been Bengal, so there would not have been the establishment of the British in India. In fact, there is a very famous British historian who once said that on one hand, French were trying to find the key of the India in Madras, whereby British found it in Bengal. So the name of the historian is very interesting, Will Smith. Then, so he said this thing, and that's the reality also that French were trying to find the route to India from the Madras, but actually the richest province of India was the Bengal, and moreover, in fact, it was the political epicenter of India, and that's what British found, and that's how the money that the loot that they are going to do in the Bengal, that is the thing which they will be using in rest of the parts of India. So that will lead to the consolidation of their rule in India. So let's start with the Bengal. And title ये लिखो, Regional Power of Bengal. First we'll write the timeline and then we'll go into the rest of the parts. ठीक है? So Regional Power of Bengal. So do one thing, that write the timeline first and then we'll go into the details. So timeline में first is the foundation, 1717, and by Murshid Quli Khan. Then, as far as the tenure of the Murshid Quli Khan is concerned, 1717 to 27. Sujauddin, 27. Just 1 year you write. And Sarfaraj Khan, 39. Then comes the tenure of Alivardi Khan, 'War of Succession', 1756. Sirajuddaulah, 56 to 57. Then comes Battle of Palasi, 1757. Mir Zafar, 57 to 60. Mir Qasim, 57, sorry, 60 to 63. Battle of Buxar, 1764, and the last one, Treaty of Allahabad. That's it. So this is the timeline, starting from the Alivardi Khan and going till the Treaty of Allahabad. Done. So in this topic, we'll be starting with the salient features of the Bengal. Okay, that will continue in the Mysore episode also. So important aspects of the Bengal, and then we'll go into the political details from the time of the Alivardi Khan. Okay, so let's start. So now listen. As far as the Bengal is concerned, in 1717, the foundation of the semi-independent autonomous state of the Bengal happened. What is the reason that why Murshid Quli Khan has gone in this direction to establish the first semi-independent autonomous states of the Mughal? The reason was, you remember that the Royal Farman of 1717 and what it allowed to British. So it allowed to British that they can do the duty-free trade in Bengal, then Bihar, Bengal, Odisha. Then apart from it, what was there? 38 villages were given on lease to the British to further fortify Calcutta, and they were further allowed to mint their own coins. So duty-free trade, he didn't had any that much objection, but Murshid Quli Khan has objection on 38 villages, and so has the minting of the coins. So he opposed the decision of the Farooq Siyar, and when he opposed, so obviously there are options before the emperor, either to crush the opposition, okay, or conciliate with him. But then crushing the opposition was not the option available before Farooq Siyar, because Murshid Quli Khan himself was too powerful. And why he was powerful in the salient features we'll get to know then. So what was the settlement? Settlement was that Bengal will go in the direction of the semi-independent autonomous state. They will be paying the annual tribute to the Mughal emperor, but he will not interfere in the decision making of the Bengal. So that's how Bengal has charted a new history for itself. And in fact, Bengal episode was followed by the others also, like Hyderabad and like the Awadh also. So Bengal was the first. Now, as far as the salient features are concerned, so Bengal was the richest province of the Mughal India. It was richest province of the Mughal India. At the time of the Akbar, 16 provinces were there, and by the time of the Aurangzeb, it has gone to more than 20 provinces. So it was richest province of India. Why it was richest province? There are many reasons behind it. So very first one, there must be very effective revenue collection system, and obviously when income would be more, so more investment, and with more investment more richness can be brought. So what was the revenue collection model of the Bengal? So revenue collection of model of the Bengal, now understand that who were responsible for collecting the revenue? Zamindars, ठीक है? And बाद में आगे चल के, ठीक है, that when you are well versed with the ancient history also, medieval history also, then you understand that zamindari is a very old institution in India. Then zamindari by this point of time, that it was very much consolidated in Bengal. So if it is not very much working in the rest of the parts of the India, but it was very much it was in a very conformed shape in Bengal. So now, Murshid Quli Khan, what he did, that rather than giving the task of revenue collection to large number of smaller zamindar, he gave it to few numbers or small numbers of the zamindars, but those zamindars who are powerful. So rather than giving revenue collection rights to large number of smaller zamindars, he handed it to that small number of zamindars, but those zamindars who are very powerful. So instead of 500 zamindars, he is giving the task to the 50 powerful zamindars. So now there are few questions. Ab is question ka matlab answer you will have to give. Tell me that who is easy to manage. Okay? Let's take a figure: 500 smaller zamindar and 50 zamindar. So who is easy to manage? 50. So smaller number will be easy to manage. Then, and moreover, the smaller zamindars, so who will be more effective? 500 zamindars or 50 zamindars, 50 powerful zamindars? Powerful word add karna hoga, okay? Let's understand the reason. See that if the zamindar is not very powerful, suppose that one smaller zamindar, he is responsible for the collection of the revenue of the 3 to 4 villages. Then, so 3 to 4 villages, consider the population by those times, 500, 600 population, so 2,500 population hoga, 2,500 to 3,000 population. And how many troops each and every zamindar used to maintain an army of Lathedar? Okay? Lathedar, you understand? That in Western India and particularly that Eastern India, that Northern India also, it is very much used. Lathedar meaning that people who are using the lathis to control law and order. Then, so they maintain 50, 60, 70 people as a Lathedar. Now, when they are maintaining this much people to for the collection of the revenue, suppose one fine day they are going to the villages and villagers are revolting. Their numbers are 2000 to 3000. So will 50 people stand against them if they are determined that they will not be paying the rent? But on the other hand, if the powerful zamindar is there, his power will not reside in the number of the lathedar he has. His power will reside in the weapons that he is using. So smaller zamindar cannot afford the guns and the sophisticated weapons at that time. But then the bigger zamindars, they all afford the big guns and then big pistols and then sophisticated weapons at that time. So even if 20 people have gone to collect the revenue and people are determined that they will not be paying the revenue, just one shot is enough. One person dead and everybody will pay. So now you're understanding. So this is what is the real scenario, that in the British India, that the people were not only oppressed by the Britishers, but also the Zamindar class was also responsible up to a greater extent. Not completely, but a greater extent. So these few powerful zamindars were very effective in the revenue collection of the Bengal. And moreover, it is said that by the time of the death of the Murshid Quli Khan in 1727, just 15 zamindars were responsible for more than 60% revenue of the Bengal. So he had a very effective revenue system. Then Bengal was also unique in the sense that there was importance of the merchant bankers. Okay? So we'll have more discussion on the word merchant banker, that who is merchant and who is banker. Okay? एक बार लिखो very first. So write a title, salient aspects of Bengal. Mention salient aspects of Bengal. इसमें लिखो, mention very first thing. Bengal was the richest province of Mughal India. Bengal was the richest province of Mughal India, and it became further rich. It became further rich during the tenure of. It became further rich during the tenure of Murshid Quli Khan. Murshid Quli Khan, due to his effective leadership. Due to his effective leadership. Then mention a feature number 1. A point wise लिखो. ये तो small introduction हो गया. Mention very first one. Bengal had a very effective revenue administration system. Revenue administration system. Full stop. Murshid Quli Khan, you can mention MQ Khan, not all the time full name. Murshid Quli Khan preferred few powerful zamindars instead of large number of smaller zamindars for revenue collection. Full stop. Then mention. By the time of death of Murshid Quli Khan, in 1727, comma, 15 powerful zamindars of Bengal were responsible for more than 60% revenue collection. More than 60% revenue collection of Bengal. more than 60% revenue collection of Bengal. So this is the very first point. Now, second, just understand. So what we said that Bengal, in Bengal, there was growing importance of the merchant bankers. Then, so understand that whom we are calling as merchant bankers. What does it mean? So first of all, the very first word is the merchant. Who is a merchant? A wholesale trader, you can say, buyer. Then, so trader है, but बड़े level का trader है, ठीक है? So he is the initial buyer. We can say that if the n number of the producers are there, so he will be the initial buyer. 10 लोग जो production कर रहे हैं, he will be buying and then he will be distributing it to the other traders, smaller level traders. So the big level trader, we can call it merchant. Then, and आजकल के terminology में we can say wholesale traders. Then, so the merchant and banker word is attached to them. So the same people who were working as a merchant, they were also working as a banker. So what is the most important banking activity? Loan provide karana, ठीक है? So, and as you know that loans are the assets of the bank and then savings are the liabilities. Then, so their most important work was the providing loan. So on one hand, with their merchant activity, they are gaining some income and that income they are using for the lending activity, ठीक है? Loan देने में. So they were very powerful actually. Some of the merchant bankers were very rich. Their story we are going to talk in the next point. Then, so some of them are very rich and moreover, okay, these merchant bankers of the Bengal, their loans were on a very cheaper rate. It's not on a very high interest rate, but it was on a very cheaper rate. So that's how they emerged as a supportive pillar many a times, okay? And not only supportive pillar, but at each and every level of transaction, they emerged as a supportive pillar. So now what I have mentioned, each and every level of transaction, अब इसको समझना एक बार. What is level of transaction? So for example, let's understand that very first thing, that there is a taxpayer. So initial taxpayer, then initial taxpayer will give the taxes to whom? Zamindar. Then after Zamindar will give the taxes to Nawab of Bengal. Nawab of Bengal. And sometimes some part of that taxes will be sent to Mughal emperor. Okay, as per the arrangement. So some part of the taxes will be sent to Mughal emperor. Now, these are, so these arrows which I have created, this is the first level of transaction, second level of transaction, and third level of transaction. Suppose a taxpayer, normal taxpayer, he has to pay 1 lakh rupees to the zamindar, but then there is some important medical emergency in his family. He has spent the money. So what he will do? He is assured कि हम मुझे यहाँ से लोन मिल जाएगा, ठीक है? I'll get the loan. So they are supportive pillar at the first level of transaction. Similarly, zamindar, he has also spent money और कुछ कम पड़ गया. So then he is also very much sure that he will get the loan from the merchant bankers. Then, so each and every level, in fact, there was a time when Bengal Nawab, later on, he needed money to remit to the Mughal emperor. And that time also, it is the merchant bankers who provided loan. So that's how merchant bankers were holding a very important position in the Bengal court. But then the question rises that who was this merchant banker? Itna rich tha kaun, theek hai? So actually there were 2-3 families, but most important family of the merchant banker was Jagat Seth family. Then, so we'll tell you the story of the Jagat Seth. Then, so Jagat Seth family was the most important and they were the one who were closest to the Bengal court. In fact, when it comes to the foundation of the Bengal in 1717, so they also played a very vital role. So let's understand that in normal Mughal court in Delhi, that nobles or jagirdars of the different origins, Turkish, Persian, and they were important. But in Bengal, the nobility also included the merchant bankers and the most important were Jagat Seth. Many of the decisions were taken in connivance or in consultation with the Jagat Seths. So who were the Jagat Seths? Now understand. अब इसको लिखने का काम बाद में करेंगे. Let's understand from where they started. So Jagat Seth, initial person was Hiranan Sahu. ठीक है, Hiran and Sahu. And as you know that Sahu is a caste also, but Sahu is a profession also. What is that? Sahukar. What is that? Money lending. ठीक है. So Hiranand Sahu, originally he was a Jain trader. Jain trader, and from which area? Very obvious. You can tell? From Marwad. ठीक है. That's how. I hope you know that Marwadi is an ethnic identity. Sorry, that regionalistic identity. उस मारवाड़ रीजन के जो लोग होते हैं उन्हें हम जनरली मारवाड़ी कहते हैं, ठीक है. बट देन मारवाड़ीज कुड बी फ्रॉम द वैश्या community also, they could be from the Jain community also. In fact, Jain community were also very good in trading then. So now, so they migrated or they started from the Marwad area. And which all districts in Rajasthan comes under the Marwad? नहीं पता है? कोई है भी नहीं राजस्थान से? कोई है जोधपुर से इस क्लास में? Only one person. So Jodhpur is Marwad. So as Bikaner, Jaisalmer, these are the areas which comes under the Marwad. Then, so now understand. So he has come from the Marwad area to Patna, and he was the initial person who settled in the Patna. And then after, just with the sale of one commodity, सिर्फ एक commodity को बेच के, he became super rich. Then. And you will be surprised to know that what was the commodity. But first, I want a guess from your side. What was the commodity? Opium. So the commodity was. Sometimes people say that. देखो general answer जो आता है जिन्हें नहीं पता होता है, they used to say that cotton, ठीक है? And cotton, then opium is also one answer that people give. एक किसी क्लास में लोगों ने कहा था कि खैनी. So. But the commodity was saltpeter. Saltpeter. What is saltpeter? KNO3. Good, very good. So potassium nitrate, and it was very much there in and around Patna, ठीक है? And particularly in the riverbed, closer to the riverbed of the Ganga, and so as the Son River, there was huge deposition of the KNO3, ठीक है? There is saltpeter. So he started using it, and potassium nitrate, as you know, that it is used in gunpowder. It is what is gunpowder actually, okay? And in those times, each and every monarchy, what it needs, the weapon of the destruction, the most effective weapon of destruction, and there was nothing better than the gunpowder. So he used this particular information which was available to him, and then after he started selling it, he became super rich in Patna, okay? And then after these, initially he was Hiran and Sahu. He was not given the name Jagat Seth. I'll tell you the story also, that how they got the name Jagat Seth. So he expanded. Kothis of theirs started to get created in the different cities of the Bengal, Bihar, Odisha, Cuttack, Bhubaneswar, Murshidabad, Midnapur. So they started creating their kothis. What is kothis? Their bungalows then, and full of the money. Now, it is the son of the Hiranand Sahu, whose name was Manik Chand. So, Manik Chand was the good friend of the Murshid Quli Khan. So, he was the good friend of the Murshid Quli Khan. And when Murshid Quli Khan opposed the Mughal Emperor Farrukhsiyar, so he must have the backing of somebody. And backing or the support of somebody. And who was that? Manik Chand. Okay? And why Manik Chand's support was important? Because the richest person in the Bengal. So, why Farrukhsiyar did not crush the revolt by Murshid Quli Khan? Because he knew that they have a hell lot of money. They can change the loyalty of the army. By just, if Murshid Quli Khan declares that I will pay you 2 times more than what has been paid by the emperor, okay, Farrukhsiyar. So, obviously, money has a bigger loyalty than any other thing. That's a very practical thing I'm telling you. Money has a bigger loyalty and nobody is saint. Then, so sometimes people do go ahead with some sort of loyalty, but nobody will just go with that higher loyalty and crushing their own aspirations. So this was known by the Farrukhsiyar, and that's how he was ready for the settlement. Then, so this support was important. But then, when Manik Chand is supporting, ठीक है, Manik Chand is supporting Farrukhsiyar, sorry, supporting Murshid Quli Khan, इनके भी तो कुछ interest होंगे. He might be having some interest. So what was the interest? That if the Bengal becomes semi-independent, so many economic rights would be given to Manik Chand, and it was given. So what was given? Earlier, the minting rights, according to Farrukhsiyar, was given to the British. Now the entire minting right were given to Manik Chand. Okay? So now he will be minting the currency for the Bengal. And then after, when he is minting, so obviously there would be complete control on the Bengal liquidity. Economics start हुआ है ना तुम्हारा? नहीं, अच्छा इस बैच में नहीं हुआ है. So in economics, you understand that what is liquidity. But I hope you know what is liquidity. पूरा मनी पे कंट्रोल, दैट कितना पैसा मार्केट में जाएगा, कितना पैसा मार्केट में नहीं होगा, मीनिंग दैट हाउ मच मनी विल बी सर्कुलेटिंग इन द मार्केट एंड हाउ मच मनी विल नॉट बी देयर इन द मार्केट. सो दे विल बी हैविंग द कंप्लीट कंट्रोल ऑन द लिक्विडिटी. नाउ इफ आई आस्क कि आज के टाइम पे हु हैज द कंप्लीट कंट्रोल ऑन द लिक्विडिटी इन द इंडियन मार्केट? Good, very good. So this is how they will become as a RBI, as a RBI institution. So with this, they had a huge income. Then after, they had merchant activity. With that, they had a huge income. And with banking activity, they had huge income. So combining these all income, okay, they were the richest people in India. And son of the Manik Chand, his name was Fateh Chand. So his son, Fateh Chand, he emerged as the richest individual in the contemporary world. Not just India, but richest individual in the contemporary world. And economists and the historians, they are combined with some formulas. So as for that today's calculation is concerned, whatever amount or whatever capital he was holding, it is worth today's $190 billion. Exactly similar to the Jeff Bezos capital right now. So this much amount he was holding then. And moreover, these people had a very deep trade relations with the Europeans also. That's a different episode. We'll see it later on. So this is what is about that Fateh Chand, that who got the title of the Jagat Seth from whom? Muhammad Shah Rangila. So it is Muhammad Shah Rangila who gave him the title of the Jagat Seth, and it was rightly given. Why so? Because they were the bankers to the world. Jagat ke Seth. Jagat, you know, and Seth, you know. So Jagat ke Seth. So that's how this title was there. Everything was good as far as the Jagat Seth Fateh Chand is concerned. But actually, the things will not be similar when his sons would be there, and they were Swaroop and Mehtab. We'll talk about their story also. There was a very popular phrase in the Bengal. The phrase was that if Jagat Seths collapse in Bengal, so trade in Bengal will also collapse. And it actually proved to be true. So we only read the history part. Generally क्या होता है that we read just history, that history part related to the rules and the rulers, ठीक है, and their political things. But actually, there are some stories which are lost in the translation. And one very important story is the Jagat Seth only. So पहले इतना लिखो, then we'll go into the rest of the part of it. So second part, you write that in Bengal, there was growing importance of, in Bengal, there was growing importance of merchant bankers. Merchant bankers. Then mention. They proved as supportive pillar. They proved as supportive pillar at each and every level of supportive pillar at each and every level of transaction. Each and every level of transaction. इसमें further add करो after full stop mention. They provided cheap loan to the people which further led to build of trust in society. Then third point you write, mention. Bengal was unique in the sense that unique in the sense that its most important nobility, its most important nobility did not came from jagirdari, but merchant banker families, from merchant banker families. ठीक है? Then mention merchant bankers family. The most important of them were the Jagat Seths. So write separately paragraph change करके लिखो, point number नहीं change करना, just change paragraph and then you write. In 1717, merchant banker Manik Chand supported Murshid Quli Khan against Mughal Emperor Farrukh Siyar. Full stop. As a token of gratitude, Manik Chand was given minting rights of Bengal. Then mention his son Fateh Chand emerged as the richest person in the contemporary world. Mughal Emperor Muhammad Shah Rangila gave him the title of Jagat Seth. Then, now listen one more thing. So basically these people, that Jagat Seths, they were so rich, and why they have built, how they were able to build trust in the society, let's understand. So why they were providing very cheap loans, okay? Understand that there are two ways of earning. They became richest, and that too not going in the direction of taking a very high interest rate. So they are not taking high interest rate, but then their interest rates were very cheaper, 2%, 3%, not more than 5%. Then, and on the other hand, so when they are taking the low interest rates from the loans, so this is what we call economy of scale. Understand, this word you will be reading in the economics jab bhi ho. So what is economy of scale? Understand that if somebody is providing the loan on a very high interest rate, 15%, 20%, ठीक है, 20% मान लो. वैसे आजकल बैंक भी 18% से 20% लेते हैं if you go for the any personal loan, ठीक है. It's only the home loan which is around 8 to 9%, but otherwise all the other loans are closer to 20%. So on a very high interest loan, so 20% interest rate is high, and if you are charging this much, so suppose you need a loan, ठीक है, but then you will be revisiting कि क्या मुझे जरूरत है लोन की. That suppose if you want to create one additional story on your house, एक और मंजिला बनाना है, so then you will be revisiting कि इतने पैसे देने, कुछ दिन wait कर लेते हैं, rather than creating a additional layer in the house. Or even if you want to buy something which is not a kind of a necessity, but just for your luxury. So you will stop yourself because the loan interest rate is very high. But at the same point of time, agar jo interest, if it is they are charging 5%, 4%, I think you will also think it is manageable. If I take 1 lakh loan, so 5,000 to dena hai, theek hai, saal bhar ke andar. So then it is manageable. So then you will tend to take the loan. कि थोड़ा सा ही तो इंटरेस्ट देना है, लेट्स क्रिएट द second layer of the house then, or let's do something expansion then. So this is what is called as the economy of scale. So when the interest rate would be low, so ये पूरी class loan ले लेगी, एक example wise बता रहा हूँ. And when interest rates would be high, so only in the medical emergency will be taking the loan. जब कहीं से भी नहीं मिलेगा, if we are not getting the loan from anywhere, and moreover not cheaper rate, so medical emergency, there is nothing more important than the medical emergency. So then we'll be taking the 20%, क्या 30% भी मिल जाए तो we will be taking the loan. But then how many people will be taking the high interest loan? Very less people, 4 5 people, ठीक है, out of 200. And if there is a 5% or 2% interest rate, so then I think out of 200 people, 100, more than 100 will take the loan. So this is what is the economy of the scale, that more people are taking the loan and more people are paying the taxes. Okay? So they played on this, and moreover, it is also building the trust, that people started trusting the Jagat Seths because they became helpful in their dire times and they never charged very high interest rate. So it is the interpersonal relation which is building between the people and Jagat Seth. अब interpersonal relation का अब दूसरा फायदा देखो. There are many such benefits. This is the primary benefit. Secondary benefit is that suppose I am a producer in the Bengal. I have option to sell my product to other merchant bankers also. But since I have got the very less interest rate from the merchant bankers, they seem to me as a good people. So obviously मैं अपना product I will be selling it to the merchant bankers. Whom? Jagat Seth. So that's how Jagat Seths were highly popular in the Bengal politics, and they were trustworthy also. So it was all good till Manik Chand and Fateh Chand. But then the sons of the Fateh Chand were not so good, and their story will read at the time of the Alivardi Khan. ठीक है? So एक बार फिर से इसमें ऐड करो. अच्छा एक और वर्ड है, just 1 minute. These people, ठीक है, these Jagat Seths, they were often providing high amount loans in the form of hundi. So high amount loans were provided in the form of hundi. And what is hundi? So hundi is bill of exchange. In today's time, what we call check. Okay? So they provided loans in the form of the bill of exchange, that is hundi. And the initial amount of the hundi started from 1 lakh rupees, and the highest amount was going till 2 crore rupees. Okay? So this much amount they were providing in the loan in the form of the hundi. Likho, mention karo. What is the last line that you have written? Gave him the title of Jagat Seth. Then you write, Jagat Seths built a very trustworthy relationship. Jagat Seth built a very trustworthy relationship in Bengal society. In Bengal society. Then mention trustworthy relationship in Bengal society, as they provided loans on cheaper interest rate. Loans on cheaper interest rates. Then mention they released hundis or bill of exchange. They released hundis or bill of exchange for higher amount. Bill of exchange for higher amount loans. Higher amount loans, which started from 1 lakh rupees, till 2 crore rupees. Right? 2 crore rupees. Full stop. One last line you write about the Jagat Seths. It was popular in Bengal. It was popular in Bengal that that if Jagat Seth's collapse, trade in Bengal, if Jagat Seth's collapse, trade in Bengal will also collapse. Trade in Bengal will also collapse. Okay? So this is what is about the third feature. Let's go into the next few features. So now what's the number? 4. The 4 likho. So listen, when it comes to that Bengal economy, in the mid 18th century, particularly 1740 to 1760, there was a crisis, okay, that overland crisis in India. What is this overland crisis? Let's understand with the map. So if we go with the So just understand this much part will be enough. What is this overland crisis in 1740s? Invasion of Nadir Shah, you all know, when? 39. Okay? So Nadir Shah. And after the invasion of the Nadir Shah, Abdali. So Abdali invaded India 7 times between 1748 to 67. So 7 times invasion. Now what they have done, that Abdali has completely captured this route. Or when he has captured this route, so there is a route which is going from the Yunnan province of the China, Silk Route. I hope you have heard about it, Silk Route. So Silk Route was one of the busiest trading route to the world. And in fact, from India, the land traffic was following the Silk Route going to the Europe. But then this area is completely occupied by Nadir Shah and so as the Abdali. So at this point of time, the trade from this area, it declined. Okay? So trade from this area declined, and Bengal, which is over here. So there is a oceanic route also. So when the overland traffic, okay, started to decline, the oceanic traffic of Bengal started to increase, which further increased the interest of the Europeans in Bengal, and it further increased the income of the Bengal. Then apart from it, let's talk about the Bengal as a manufacturing hub. So Bengal, by this point of time in the 18th century till 1760s, it was the manufacturing hub of the world. And manufacturing hub of the world, so for example, that you must have heard about the cotton textile industry in the Bengal. And here Bengal does not mean only West Bengal, it includes Bangladesh. Okay? So I hope you know that Bangladesh is one of the most important textile production center. And in fact, when people try to find out the replacement of the China, that everything is made in China. So when people are little irritated with the Chinese stuff, so then when they are going in the, I'm just checking that it is made in China or not. So they go buying the things with the other countries. So for example, textile mein ek acha replacement came from the Bangladesh, and so as the Vietnam, so as Cambodia and Philippines also. So particularly sports good, large number of sports good which are sold in India with the different companies. So they are either made in Cambodia, Vietnam, or Philippines. Then, but when it comes to denims, so majority of the time you will find 70% of the time, if it is not made in India, so then you will find it is made in Bangladesh. So Bangladesh used to be a very important textile production center. And moreover, Dhaka was the one of the textile hub of the India in those times. So there was no import demand in the Bengal. Actually, there was no import demand in the Bengal, but in fact, it was all export which was happening from the Bengal. So this has further provided that a new layer of the wealth to the Bengal. Then, now the question which rises, ki Europeans who are coming to Bengal to purchase these Bengali goods, so in what medium they are purchasing it? Okay? Was it a barter exchange, or then was it a currency exchange, or that with currency or something else they were buying? So now understand, Europeans, they brought huge amount of bullion to purchase the Bengali goods. So what is bullion? Gold and silver, and majorly it is gold. Okay, so gold and silver, and gold was majorly used at this point of time. So all the European companies, European countries, they were bringing gold from their area to purchase the Bengali goods, and this is what has led to accumulation of huge amount of gold, huge amount of gold in India. Now understand that India, many countries, they are given different gold names then. So for example, India has been given the name, acronym Sone Ki Chidiya. So this is a very apt acronym. Why so? Because if we look at the sources of the gold in India, so it's all from the trade. It has come from the trade, and right from the ancient times then. So during the Gupta period, due to the trade of the silk and cotton, they have amassed a huge amount of the gold. Then in the medieval ages also, it is all from the Europe that the gold is coming to India. But what about any gold sources in India or gold mines in India? Karnataka, okay? And what is the gold name of the gold mine? KGF, Kolar Gold Fields then. So Kolar Gold Fields were the source of the gold in India. But then what is the problem with the Kolar Gold Field? In reality, that Kolar Gold Field is, KGF is the deepest gold mine in the world. So it's only in the movies that movie number 1 you get through 3 mines, and movie number 2 10 mines then. But in reality, it is just hypothetical. The reality is that if anybody goes to extract gold from the Kolar gold fields, he himself will be extracted. So it is so deep because there would be so much of temperature inside. So even machines will not function. So that's why India didn't had any such good source of the goods, mine of the gold from where it can be extracted. Time and again there are some news कि यहाँ पे है, वहाँ पे है, ठीक है, but कहीं से extract नहीं होता है. So it was all coming from the European part of the world and from the trade which was happening from the time immemorial. So at this point of time also, that huge amount of gold was coming from the Europe then, and Europeans. So Europe, अब ये मत पूछना कि यूरोप में कहाँ से आया. Europe also they don't have the gold. But right from the beginning, right from the very inception of theirs, they opened their eyes after the birth. Their eyes were sparkling with the gold that we will loot it from the Africa. Okay? So they also looted it from the Africa, and so as in from the America. Okay? So South America. So anyways, so this was the accumulation of the gold in the Bengal, and it was further providing the richness to the Bengal. There is one more point. So now, any European country, okay, or European traders, if they are coming to Bengal, so to trade in Bengal, they had to take permission of the ruler of the Bengal. Without the permission, they cannot operate. So to get the permission, what they were doing, that they were making many peshkas or nazrana. Peshkas or nazrana. And what is this peshkas or nazrana? So it could be any unique wealth, okay? Any unique jewelry, ornament, or anything which is of interest to the Nawab. So they were making this peshkas or nazrana. So that way, even the Bengal ruler is also getting something from the traders. Then apart from it, this trade in the Bengal with the Europeans was win-win situation for everybody. Why it was a win-win situation for everybody? Let's go into a formula. And what is the formula? So let's start with the very first one, that producer in the Bengal. And the producer is giving this particular product to the merchant banker. From merchant banker, the product is going to the two type of traders. One is the Indian trader, and second would be European trader. So Indian trader and European trader. Then Indian trader को वहीं छोड़ देते हैं. Let's go to the European trader. It is going to the European market. So from European trader to European market. Now, at each and every level, so that this is a win-win situation for everyone. Suppose the production cost is 1 rupees. Production cost is 1 rupees to the producer. If he's selling it to the merchant banker in 2 rupees, so there is a benefit to him. ठीक है? Suppose that merchant banker is selling it in 5 rupees to Indian traders and so as the European traders. European traders को वैसे generally ये ज़्यादा पे देते थे, ठीक है? So 5 rupees they have the benefit of 3 rupees over here, and European trader, what they are doing, that they are selling the same product in 10 rupees. और बढ़ा भी सकते हो, just an example. So 10 rupees in the European market, they also have this benefit. But then you can ask a question, where is the benefit of the Indian ruler, Bengal ruler, who has given the permission? So his benefit will come in the form of the taxes at each and every level. Okay? So each and every level. So he is getting the taxes at each and every level. How come European ruler will get the benefit? So when the traders, European traders, are selling it in the European market, so European king is also getting taxes. Then, so this is a win-win situation for everyone. सबको फायदा हो रहा है, ठीक है? All of them who are involved. And what about the people of the Europe? So people of the Europe, earlier you remember that they had to pay 100 times whatever be the cost of the product in India, uska 100 times, ab maybe 10 times, 20 times. So now it is cheaper than the earlier times. So this way, it was a win-win situation to everybody, and that's how Bengal was flourishing, and that's why Bengal was the richest province of India. Mention fourth one. So जगह सेठ तक लिखा है, ठीक है? So now fourth point you write. In 1740s, there was a political turmoil. There was a political turmoil, turmoil, turmoil in North and Northwestern India. In North and Northwestern India, due to the invasions of Nadir Shah and Abdali. Full stop. At this time, oceanic trade started to thrive. THRIVE. Started to thrive in Bengal with renewed interest of Europeans. Then next point you write, mention. During the tenure of Murshid Quli Khan, many progressive initiatives were taken regarding agriculture and manufacturing. Then mention. Bengal emerged as manufacturing hub of the world. Full stop. Then you write. For example, Dhaka emerged as the textile production hub of India. Then, next point you write. Bengal had very negligent import demand, very negligent import demand, but it had very high volume, but it had very high volume of export, very high volume of export of manufactured goods, export of manufactured goods, which resulted into, which resulted into favorable balance of trade, which resulted into favorable balance of trade with Bengal, which resulted into favorable balance of trade with Bengal, meaning positive. This is favorable balance of trade. Once again, this is the word that you read in economics. So what is favorable balance of trade? Export minus import. If it comes positive, so it will be called as favorable balance of trade. If it comes negative, so then it will be negative balance of trade. So for example, chalo, I'll tell you some examples. Example is that India has a favorable balance of trade with the US and UAE. So US and UAE, then in fact one of the big trade partners of the India in today's time is the UAE and so is the US. Then so UAE के साथ हमेशा favorable of balance of trade रहता है. But what is there with the China? Negative balance of trade. So the volume, both the countries may have the volume of the $120 billion, but 120 billion में the Chinese export to India, ठीक है, is around 90 to 100 billion dollars, and Indian export to China is 20. So 90 and 20 meaning that 70 is the favorable balance of trade with the China. So China is always in the favorable balance of trade when it comes to trade with the India. It's not good for India, and that's what we are trying to remove, okay, from very long time, but it will take long time. That's the reality. It will take long time. So for example, कोविड के टाइम पे सबको पता होगा, ठीक है, that there was one scare in the beginning that essential medicines will not be available, ठीक है, and India at the same point of time has been called pharmaceutical hub of the world. Then so though we are called as the pharmaceutical hub, or we are called as the medicine hub of the world, but then हमारे पास ही medicine production का system नहीं था उस time पे. Why so? Because the initial ingredient of any medicine, which is called as API, active pharmaceutical ingredient, that all comes from China. So though we create all the medicines, but pehla ingredient comes from the China, and when it will not be coming from the China, so no other medicines can be created. So the world is dependent on China. The reality is this, that no matter how much abuses we make on or how much criticism we place on China, but it's the reality that abhi replacement to nahi hai, theek hai? So anyways, so I hope you are understanding what is favorable balance of trade. When the export volume would be high, तो favorable balance होगा. But when you are purchasing large amount of the things from the other countries, so then it will be that negative, because you are importing a lot. So in this case, Bengal had a favorable balance of trade because they were exporting, importing less, exporting extra. So that is one part. Then next you write, उसके बाद लिखो, mention, इसमें लिखो, the trade in Bengal led to huge accumulation of bullion, particularly gold. Huge accumulation of bullion, particularly gold. Then next point you write, particularly gold, full stop after it. Next one. Trade in Bengal was win-win situation. Trade in Bengal was win-win situation for everyone. For all the stakeholders, will everyone or stakeholders. For example, the producers, merchant bankers, European traders, merchant bankers, European traders, and even the rulers, and even the rulers. Full stop. Then mention paragraph change, and in the same statement, so mention moreover, European companies, European companies needed permission of the Indian rulers, to operate in India, mention to get this permission, they often made peshkas, or nazrana, to the Indian rulers. Peshkash or nazrana to the Indian rulers. Then, so this is what is about this very part, silent aspects of the Bengal. Since it is the richest province and the most important, it is the gateway for the British to India. So this discussion is necessitated. So now we will start with the tenure of the Alivardi Khan. As far as the political stuff is concerned, so tenure of the Alivardi Khan from 1739 to 1756. So not much has happened during the Sarfaraj and Sujauddin. Sujauddin died in a year itself, and then after Sarfaraj continued for some time. But then not much new change has happened. So just write a title. Just give me 1 minute. Mention Alivardi Khan as a title. So it is said that after Murshid Quli Khan, he was the most profound economic administrator. He was a good administrator. Then his policies were also prudent and very profound. But as compared to Murshid Quli Khan, there was one weakness of the Alivardi Khan. Weakness is that he was not a strong military commander. Then, and moreover, he was not very much interested in building a very strong army. For that, he has to face the repercussions. So though his economic policies were further bringing the richness to the Bengal, but then this aspect of the military brought misfortune also. And what is it? So this is the time when Marathas are rising in power. And under whom? Peshwas. So Marathas are rising in power under Peshwas. And one of the very effective strategy of the Peshwas was raid. Then, as you know, that raid is not a formal war strategy, it is informal war strategy. And in the informal war strategy, that nobody goes for a raid before and before the raid calling the person कि आज हम आपके घर में raid डालने आएंगे, तैयार रहिएगा, सब कुछ छिपा दीजिएगा. So this is not the raid happens. Raid is all of sudden. Then so all of sudden, and then you are caught unaware. So in between 1745 to 1750, there were good number of the raids from the Maratha side in the Bengal, Odisha and Bihar. And that's how Alivardi Khan was not able to contest, not able to put a very fierce resistance against this raid. So then he realized in 1751 that the only option to stop this raid to do some sort of agreement with the Marathas. Then so that they stop raiding the area, and in lieu of it, he will permanently give something to them. So what was this agreement? So this agreement was basically Odisha was given to the Marathas, meaning that all the revenue which is coming from the Odisha will be given to the Marathas, and moreover, apart from it, he also assured that 1.25 lakh rupees annually would be paid to the Marathas. Then, so after this agreement, there was no raid from the Maratha side. And in fact, one of the big issue in this raid, that many of the kothis of the Jagat Seths, they were also looted. Then, and these kothis which were there at the Cuttack, it was looted in Patna, then in Munger, then in Murshidabad. So these all kothis were looted. So now, at least after 1751, this loot is not going to happen. Everything was fine. In 1756, death of Alivardi Khan happened. and after his death, war of succession started. And war of succession was between the grandson of the Alivardi Khan, whose name was Sirajuddaulah, and the daughter of the Alivardi Khan, Ghasiti Begum. Then, so थोड़ा अलग नाम है, ठीक है, अब रखा क्यों था, but then uh, the relevance is there in the war of succession that at least he has ghasited everyone into the war situation. So, and एक question होता है कि that the grandson, so Sirajuddaulah, was actually the son of the other daughter of the Alivardi Khan, and he didn't had any son. So there were two daughters. So one was Ghazidi Begum and another was the whose son was the Sirajuddaulah. So this war of succession, from here onwards, the conspiracies will start sprouting in the Bengal politics. And though Sirajuddaulah will come to the power, but then not without the opposition, meaning that there would be a hell lot of opposition of the elevation of the Alivardi, and some conspiracies would be there. So एक बार लिखो इसको, then we'll go into the story of the Sirajuddaulah. So Alivardi Khan, you're right, he was a very strong economic administrator, but he was not a strong military commander. Though the wealth of Bengal increased during his tenure, but Bengal was not saved. From the raids of Marathas. Full stop. In between 1745 to 50, Marathas raided Bengal many a times. And they also looted many of the kothis of Jagat Seths. Full stop. In 1751, Alivardi Khan signed an agreement with Maratha, whereby he handed over Odisha to Marathas, and also assured 1.25 lakh rupees annual payment, 1.25 lakh rupees annual payment to Marathas. Then change paragraph and mention. After the death of Alivardi Khan, war of succession started between his grandson Sirajuddaulah and his daughter Ghasiti Begum. So now listen. So at this point of time, when this episode has happened, so Ghasiti Begum, silently she was supported by Jagat Seths, okay? And so as British, who had nothing to do with the Bengal politics at this time, they also clearly declared their support to the Ghasiti Begum. But at the end of the day, it was Sirajuddaula who was victorious in this war of succession, and he became the king. But then obviously he will be offended by the take of the Jagat Seths, and so as the British, who don't have anything to say in the Bengal politics, but then unnecessarily they are indulging in the Bengal politics. So he came to power. अब यहाँ पे ध्यान से समझना that Sirajuddaulah, he was a young guy and he was fully brimming with the confidence then, and also that whatever be his thought process, it was all about the progressiveness of the Bengal. So when he came to power, he had to take a very important decision. An important decision was that both French and British East India Company, they were demanding monopoly of trade in Bengal. So they were demanding monopoly of trade in Bengal. At this point of time, Jagat Seths, they wanted that this monopoly of trade in Bengal must be given to British. And you might be asking that why Jagat Seths? They are kind of that supporting the British, and moreover, who are these Jagat Seths at this time? So death of Fateh Chand has happened. It is the two sons of the Fateh Chand, Swaroop and Mehtab. Then, and moreover, why they want British to get the monopoly of trade? Because now they have developed a very deep trade relations with the British. Then, so they wanted to favor British. So what is this monopoly of trade? Let's understand. So monopoly of trade, let's suppose that if British are given monopoly of trade, then what does it mean? That if they are producing any such water bottle, suppose karo ki Bisleri production they are doing. So monopoly of trade means that people of Bengal don't have any choice. They will have to buy, purchase Bisleri only. कोई other company नहीं है जो पानी बना रही है, चाहे ये अच्छा बनाए या बुरा बनाए. If the water is adulterated or unadulterated, they had only one option, they will have to buy. But if there is other company, ठीक है, so then obviously that Bisleri के अलावा Aquafina भी है. So then there is a choice. ये अच्छा नहीं लगेगा. If you are not finding it good, so you can buy the Aquafina, you can buy the Kinley. So monopoly of trade was not a right decision for the people, as you know. So Sirajuddaulah, he was young, okay, and obviously that he did not wanted to bow down before the dictats of the Jagat Seths. Then, so he was of the view that earlier whatever has happened, but then I am the king, and then it will be my rule, not anybody other's orders. So he took a decision. Decision was that he did not give monopoly of trade to the British. He did not give it to the French also. He decided that Bengal will remain open competitive economy. Okay? So in open competitive economy, it is the customer who gets the benefit. Then, and monopoly of trade means closed economy. Okay? So closed economy meaning that only few manufacturers would be there and they will be producing and तुम्हें वहीं से खरीदना है. So was it a good decision or bad decision? It was a good decision, ठीक है? And in fact, it was a very progressive decision, but he was unfortunate. Then, so he was unfortunate because the Jagat Seths are not liking it, and so as the British from here onwards, they will be trying to create some sort of conspiracy against him. So I'll tell you, यहाँ पे I just want once other discussion also, ठीक है? And this discussion is not related to this topic, but then some general understanding of the Indian economy itself. So generally, that that open economy is the one which is favorable to the people, okay, in which competitiveness would be there. But sometimes closed economy is also required. Can you tell me that when the closed economy is required? Growth of? Yes. So protection must be given to the indigenous people. Now understand. So I am bringing some episodes from the Indian freedom struggle itself and Indian economy after 1947. So after India's freedom, okay, after India's freedom, for a very long duration, India was a closed economy. Okay, from 1950s to 1900 till 1990s, 90, okay, it was a closed economy. Was it a right decision or wrong decision? It was a right decision. Why it was a right decision? Tell me. Yes, growth of indigenous industry. Agar Indian economy is open to the other nationals also, so it means that once again we'll become a colony. Once again we'll become the colony because it is the British industries which has dominated before 1947. अगर 1947 के बाद भी इंडियन इकोनॉमी इज ओपन, so it means that industries from the Europe, industries from the America, from different parts of the world, they will come and they will dominate. So Indian industry will never develop. So it is a protection which is given to the Indian industrialist. Then, so Indian industrialist, so that was required. But for a longer period of time, it is harmful to the people of India. So why? So I'll give you a very good example from 1970s itself. So example is that India was a closed economy. So in fact, in each and every sector of the production, there were only few companies. One of the biggest sector is the automobile sector. Then, so automobile sector, and then the car, obviously the car production is also the automobile sector. So there were only few companies which were producing the cars in those times. And these companies were, one was the Hindustan Motors, and you must not have heard the other one, Padmini Cars. You haven't heard. So Padmini Cars were there in the beginning, and so is the Hindustan Motors. And Hindustan Motors, the very important production of, or very popular production of theirs was the Ambassador cars. ठीक है? So Ambassador cars अभी भी दिख जाते हैं कहीं ना कहीं पे, दिल्ली में तो कहीं ना कहीं दिख जाता है. In fact, till 2002, it was very much part of the official convoy of the Indian Prime Minister. Then उसके बाद the convoy was changed with the German cars. ठीक है? But then till then it was very much there in the vogue. So only two companies were responsible for the production of these cars. Do you consider that Indians didn't had capacity to buy the car? We had. I will tell you example. Some rules were laid down at this point of time. So why the rules were laid down? Because the only two companies are producing the car, and moreover there are n number of the people who want to buy the car. Then, so but there was a supply and demand and supply gap. Production less, demand high. So for that, government created a rule, and the rule was that only the first production line will go to the government sector. Central government, state governments, they will be taking the first production line. The second production line goes to the central employees. Okay? And who are the central employees? Preferred central employees, IAS, IPS, these officers. Then, so central employees. And the third goes to the state employees. And then after jo bach gaya for the normal public. So if as a normal public, if you are placing a demand of that one car from the Hindustan Motors, so it is very much possible कि 4 साल के बाद कार मिलेगा. इतनी जल्दी डिलीवरी नहीं थी, ठीक है? तो 4 साल के बाद कार मिलेगा. But then, if you are an IAS officer, IPS officer, if you are placing the demand, 3 से 4 महीने के अंदर कार मिल जाती थी. So there was another market which was developing in India at that point of time, the second-hand car market. Then, so generally what was happening that IAS, IPS, that those all bureaucrats, they were purchasing the cars. 1 साल आराम से चलाया, 2 साल चलाया. If they have purchased the car in 1 lakh rupees, they were selling it in the second-hand market in 2 lakh rupees. 1 साल चलाने के बाद. I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. This is what was the scenario at that point of time. So एक तो नई कार भी चला ली और पुरानी कार डबल प्राइस पे बेच भी दी, ठीक है? It cannot happen anywhere. It is not happening anywhere. So that's how. So customers as a normal public, are we getting any benefit in a closed economy? So that was the problem of the closed economy. And second-hand cars were sold on a very high prices because demand supply gap इतना बड़ा है. अब जैसे मैंने कार का place किया demand, and I'll be getting after 4 years. मुझे 1 साल पुरानी कार मिल रही है. I will buy it immediately if I have the money. ठीक है? And moreover, people will say कि नहीं उस टाइम पे तो इंडिया में rich लोग नहीं थे. ये सब झूठ है. There were, even after the India's independence, there were thousands and thousands of the people who were ultra rich. Then, so for example, even at the time of the India's independence, the richest individual in the world was an Indian. And who was that? Nizam of Hyderabad. He was the richest individual in the world. Then, so Indians had money. Okay? It's not like that they didn't had money, but this was the problem. So in 1990s, it became very important because inflation was very high. Okay? Obviously, जो सामान हमें ये 10 रुपए में मिल सकता है, we were purchasing it in the 20 rupees. So now it was necessitated that people must be given some relief. And that's how in 1990s under Manmohan Singh Ji's guidance, that what has happened, LPG reforms. Okay? So LPG reform happened, and then after the other global companies are coming and producing in India. By this point of time, already the capacity of the production in India has developed. So AC duration में एक Indian company which became very important in the car manufacturing, that is Maruti Suzuki. ठीक है, it was originally Maruti, ठीक है, and then it collaborated with later on with Suzuki, the Japanese company, ठीक है. So that's how the production capacity in India also developed. Kirloskar developed. I hope you must have heard about the Kirloskar. It was only that it was very much there in the sector of the agriculture equipment, then tractor and these all. So Kirloskar, it did its what you can say agreement, not agreement, its coalition with the Toyota. No. Kirloskar is with the Toyota and Maruti happened with the Suzuki. So this is what happened after 1990s. So now in India itself, the production capacity has developed, and so as that now when n number of the companies are there, they are producing the car, so you have the choice. ठीक है, कि अगर जो XUV 700 एक साल बाद मिल रही है, तो you have the choice to go with the other cars. ठीक है, according to your paying capacity, according to your that whatever kind of car you want, you can purchase it immediately. So this is what happens when the economy is open. But then anything is right or wrong, it all depends on the context. So context पे right or wrong कह सकते हैं. So at this point of time when Sirajuddaula has taken a decision that Bengal will remain as an open competitive economy, it was based in the context. And the context was right. Then context was right. But then in the Indian case, ठीक है, particularly after 1947, keeping it a closed economy was the right decision. But keeping it closed till 2000 would have been a wrong decision. I hope you got it. ठीक है? So लिखो, mention, title. So what is last thing that you have written? ठीक है. So इसमें लिखो that at this point of time, many people supported claim of Ghasiti Begum, like Jagat Seths and British East India Company. Like Jagat Seths and British East India Company. Then, but finally, Sirajuddaula came to power. So mention his name as a title. Sirajuddaula, 1756 to 57. Mention. After coming to power, Siraj had to take a very important decision. Was to be taken regarding the grant of monopoly of trade to either British or French. Full stop. Jagat Seths wanted that this monopoly must be given to British East India Company. Then full stop. Young Siraj did not wanted to pay heed to dictats of Jagat Seths. Full stop. He rather decided that no one will be given no one will be given monopoly of trade in Bengal. No one will be given monopoly of trade in Bengal, and Bengal will remain open competitive economy. Bengal will remain open competitive economy. Full stop. Both Jagat Seths and company officials, both Jagat Seths and company officials were offended by this decision, and they started to hatch conspiracy against Sirajud-Dowlah. Conspiracy against Sirajud-Dowlah. So now mention a title. Events leading to Plassey battle. Events leading to Plassey battle. So let's understand that what all events slowly they are leading to. बीच में एक और there is a one incident which is called as a black hole tragedy. उसके बाद then there is a treaty of Alinagar, and then finally what happens, that is the battle of Plassey. So let's look at all the events which are happening at this point of time. So very number one, understand. So when the war of succession happened, okay, so war of succession happened at that point of time. British supported Ghasiti Begum. This was not liked by the Sirajud-Dowlah. Okay, that is the point number one. Second is that in 1756 itself, there was one person from the Bengal who was declared fugitive. Okay, and the name of the person was Krishna Das. So Krishna Das was declared a fugitive by Sirajud-Dowlah's government, and British gave the asylum to Krishna Das. Then, so fugitive, you understand, Bhagoda. This is what you call in Hindi. Then, and British gave him asylum in the Fort William in Calcutta. So it is a similar situation like many people that at this point of time they have been given asylum by the British government. Okay, they are comfortably living over there. I hope you know the name. Okay, so the same situation was there. That is the second offense. The third offense is basically that when Siraj has come to power, French East India Company made a peshkas. They made a peshkas nazrana, but then British East India Company did not made a peshkas or nazrana. The fourth incident is that British started mounting guns on the walls of the Fort William. And when Sirajud-Dowlah asked that what is the purpose of mounting these guns, so then they replied that we are expecting a renewed fight with the French in Bengal. Then, so renewed fight with the French in Bengal, they cited that we are already fighting in the Carnatic. Okay, so we are expecting that maybe French will be fighting with us in the Bengal. It was a pretext. In Hindi, what we call bahana. Okay, so it was not the original reason. So now, once they gave this explanation, Siraj ordered that immediately remove the guns from the walls. Then guns from the walls, and British did not remove the guns from the walls. Then, so seeing his authority flouted, his order not respected, he decided to launch an offensive, and he marched towards the Calcutta. So at this point of time, capital of the Bengal was Murshidabad. So Murshidabad is the capital where Sirajud-Dowlah is based. He is marching from the Murshidabad to Calcutta. And after this, one incident happened which a British historian has called black hole tragedy. But was it a black hole tragedy or not? We will see. So mention, likho, very first one. During the War of Succession, British supported claim of Ghasiti Begum. British supported claim of Ghasiti Begum. Then mention after it. Number 2. When Siraj ascended the throne, French made a पेशकश. French made a पेशकश, but not British East India Company. But not British East India Company. BEIC. Next you write. Sirajuddaulah declared Krishna Das. Sirajuddaulah declared Krishna Das as a fugitive. But British gave asylum to Krishna Das. British gave asylum to Krishna Das in Fort William, Calcutta. In Fort William, Calcutta. Fort William, Calcutta. Then mention, next point. On the pretext of renewed fight with French in Bengal. Renewed fight with French in Bengal, comma, British started to mount guns. British started to mount guns on the walls of Fort William. On the walls of Fort William. Full stop. When Siraj asked to remove guns from the walls, comma, British did not follow his orders. British did not followed his orders. British did not follow his orders. Full stop. Then mention, seeing his authority flouted. Siraj decided to launch the offense. He marched towards Calcutta. Just listen to the incident. So when he's marching towards the Calcutta, let's complete the story, then I'll give you a break. Okay? So he's marching to Calcutta, to Fort William. When it was known to the British officers who were there in the Fort William, Calcutta, many of them, they decided that they will be escaping from the Fort William, Calcutta. So large number of the big officers of the Fort William, Calcutta, they took the boats and they started towards the Madras. Then, now when Siraj has reached to the Fort William, he found that very few number of the people were still there in the Fort William. So he ordered that all these people, they must be put into a small cell, then, or ek chota jail, you can say. So the dimensions of this particular small room was 18 into 14 into 10 feet. Okay? So this was the dimension of the room, 18 feet into 14 into, so 10 must be the height, 18, 14 is the width and the length. Then, and there was one British historian, you can say, or a person who witnessed this thing. His name was Zephaniah Holwell. So it is his account which British often quote, ki whatever he has written, that this was a black hole tragedy. And then let's inquire ki actually a black hole tragedy tha ya nahi, and how much responsible was Siraj. So according to, let's go with his version. This is the right fact, but what he's saying, some of the part seems to be right and some of the part seems to be kind of exaggerated. Then, so Holwell said that Sirajuddaulah ordered near about 146 people to be kept inside this particular small cell. And then he writes that next morning, on 21st of June, when the doors of this particular cell was opened, so only 21 people survived and rest of them died because of suffocation and also many other things which happened in the cell. So what is right in this? This is right, that 21 people, only 21 people survived. But where he exaggerated the fact in the numbers in this one. So when the scientific calculation is done, कि इतने बड़े room में क्या 146 people they can be stuffed? So it is not possible. It will be only possible. So as per the calculation, for one person, if 146 people are stuffed, so एक आदमी के लिए बस इतनी जगह होगी, इतनी जगह, ठीक है? This much only. So is it possible that one person will fit in this much space? ठीक है, कपड़ा थोड़ी है कि धक्का धक्का कि सब कुछ डाल दिया. And moreover that the general height, even if the general height is 5.5 feet, ठीक है, तो एक के ऊपर एक बिठा के भी नहीं कर सकते, 10 feet ही है ऊपर. Then so it is not possible. According to the scientific calculation, 75 people can be stuffed. ठीक है, 75 लोगों को अंदर रखा जा सकता है, उससे ज्यादा नहीं. So what was the reason of the death? So we said na that only 21 people survived, which is a right fact. So why only 21 survived and how rest of them died? So the reason of the death was, so these details were rightly written by Holwell also, and so there was only one window in this particular cell. It was an iron window, iron girders were there, not easy to remove, and only one window. It is June, month of June, highly humid, very hot in Bengal, particularly in Calcutta. So as the details given, people were very thirsty, okay? And they started demanding water. So that is the time when the security guards at this place, they started giving water to the people with the leather bags. You must have seen in the movies, leather bag hote the, leather bags mein, particularly the camel riders they are carrying. So they are giving them waters with the leather bag, and that too in the hand, those who are stretching their hand at this place. Now actually infight started to happen in the cell to get the water, and people started to fight with each other to get closer to the window. Okay? So to get closer to the window, and in this fight itself, many of them were dead. And you know that in a small cell, if large number of the people will start fighting, what will happen? Suffocation. Okay? Obviously, in fighting, you need more consumption of oxygen. And when the entire consumption of the oxygen has happened, and in fact, in fighting, more production of the CO2. So suffocation is obvious. Suffocation happened. Large number of people died because of the suffocation, and some of them died fighting itself. So that's how next morning, only 21 people survived, and Holwell, who was one of the person who survived in this particular fight. So he called it black hole tragedy. Okay? So black hole tragedy, and he blamed Siraj-ud-Dowlah as a monster. But then Siraj-ud-Dowlah cannot be called as a monster. It was not a deliberate. Was he knowing कि सुबह में इतने लोगों को आज डाल दो, कल सुबह में सिर्फ इतने ही बचेंगे? Was he knowing? Was he a god that he was knowing this will happen? And moreover, obviously, the offense was done by the British then. So he was just following the discourse. It was unfortunate that this much people died then. But then Siraj repented also that this much people must not have died. And later on, he is concluding a treaty, or he is restoring the rights of the British when Robert Clive arrives from the Madras. So we'll talk about it. First, you write this much. So you write, break after writing this. So just isko likh lo, mention. What is the last line that you have written? Towards Calcutta. Okay? Then mention, reaching Fort William, he ordered all the British to be put into a small cell, with a dimension 18 into 14 into 10 feet. 18 into 14 into 10 feet. Full stop. Next morning, next morning, when when the door was opened, next morning when the door was opened, only 21 people survived. 21 people survived, and rest of them died because of suffocation, died because of suffocation and infighting. Full stop. British historian Z. Holwell, British historian Z. Holwell called this incident as black hole tragedy. Called this incident as black hole tragedy. Done. So break le lo, then we'll continue with the arrival of the Robert Clive and what was the treaty, then Battle of Plassey. So understand. So after the black hole tragedy, Jagat says they blamed it on Sirajuddaula that this must not have been done. Then after some point of time, Robert Clive, he arrived from Madras. Then when he arrived from the Madras, so there was a treaty which was signed between Sirajuddaula and Robert Clive, which is known as Treaty of Alinagar. What is this place, Alinagar? Actually, it is Sirajuddaula who renamed Calcutta as Alinagar. So as per the Treaty of Alinagar, Sirajuddaula paid the compensation for the loss of the British and he restored the British privileges in the Calcutta. But the problem here was not Sirajuddaula, was Robert Clive. Robert Clive was not the man of the need, he was the man of the greed. And he was not satisfied with this particular Treaty of Alinagar. And his demands were actually his greeds. And as you know that greed, what is the limit of the greed? Sky is the limit of the greed. So then he started to create the web of intrigue. What is web of intrigue? Sadyantra. That's what you call in Hindi. So he started to create web of intrigue in Bengal politics and he started to bribe some of the important officers in the Bengal court, which includes Mir Zafar. And who was Mir Zafar? He was Commander-in-Chief of the Bengal forces. So Commander-in-Chief of Bengal forces and moreover Jagat Seths are also conspiring with the British. Okay? So with their support, the Battle of Plassey is going to happen. So after this web of intrigue which has been created, so battle was initiated by Robert Clive himself and he started march towards Murshidabad. So march towards Murshidabad. Both the armies, they met at a place called Plassey. And finally, the battle happened in Plassey. But what are the reasons of the victory of the British at this particular place and why Sirajuddaula was defeated? So first of all, Mir Zafar, whose name we have written at the top, so he effected a coup. What we call coup, C-O-U-P. So what is coup? Hindi में क्या बोलते हो? तख्ता पलट, ठीक है? So he effected a coup and rather than it becoming a very big fight, it was completed within few days only and Sirajuddaula was defeated. Later on, he was executed. But let's further understand, what are the other reasons of the defeat? So in Bengal army was divided into 3 units. Then the unit number 1, just give me 1 minute. Unit number 1, in the middle, so there was this army led by Mir Zafar, then one section by Sirajuddaula, one section by Mir Madan. So these were the 3 units. One by Sirajuddaula himself, another by Mir Zafar and another by Mir Madan. So it is Mir Zafar who was at the strategic position and despite many calls of going ahead, he he gave instruction to his section of the army not to move even by an inch, not to fight. Then, and as such, they did not participated in the war. So these two factions still they were fighting. Okay? ऐसा नहीं है कि they were कमजोर, they were weaker, but then still they were fighting, but there was no coordination. There was one mistake which was done by the Sirajuddaulah, and that was not the mistake done by the Robert Clive. Now understand, this fight, Battle of Plassey, is happening in June, once again in the month of the June. And in the month of the June, so this is the time when pre-monsoon showers are there in the Bengal. And those who are from Bengal, they know that there is a one shower which is known as Kal Baisakhi. Have you heard about it? So Kal Baisakhi, geography में भी पढ़ोगे. These are pre-monsoon showers and torrential rains happen. ठीक है? All of sudden very heavy rain, just like Dubai airport. ठीक है? जो अभी हुआ था. So torrential rain happens. एक दिन में साल भर का रेन हो जाता है. ठीक है? So that situation. Robert Clive was very much aware about this particular climatic situation. So as the Sirajuddaulah. Both of them are aware about it. And as we discussed earlier, that the fights of these times, they were fought on the basis of the gunpowder. So when Robert Clive, he is coming with his gunpowder, he brought tarpaulins with him. Tarpaulins, you know, the cover, the plastic covers, take hai, to cover the gunpowder. He knew that ki rains will happen. He covered entire gunpowder, and then when it came to Sirajuddaulah, he forgot to brought the tarpaulins. And when the rains happened, the entire gunpowder of the Sirajuddaullah's army, it was washed away. That was the reason that Sirajuddaulah was captured easily, and later on he was killed by none other than the son of the Mir Zafar, Mir Mira. Then, so that's the episode, end of the episode of the Sirajuddaulah. And then after, with the British support, Mir Zafar has become the next emperor or next Nawab. And he will be better called as the sponsored Nawab of the Bengal. We'll talk about it. Mention, you're right. So, black hole tragedy you have written. Paragraph change करके लिखो. After some point of time, Robert Clive came to Calcutta with a bigger British army. Then mention. It led to Treaty of Ali Nagar. With Sirajuddaulah. Treaty of Ali Nagar with Sirajuddaulah in February 1757. Then mention, as per the treaty, Siraj paid compensation. For the loss of British. Siraj paid compensation for the loss of British, and he also restored British privileges in Calcutta. Then mention, it was not enough for Robert Clive. He was a man of greed. And for his greed, sky was the limit. Sky was the limit. Full stop. He started to create web of intrigue. It's all written on board, you can see. He started to create a web of intrigue in Bengal politics. Web of intrigue in Bengal politics, whereby he started to bribe many important officers of Bengal court, which includes Commander-in-Chief of Bengal Forces, Mir Zafar. Done. He was also supported by Jagat Seths. Paragraph change, mention. It is British who initiated the fight by marching towards Murshidabad. Then mention both the armies met at Palasi. Where Mir Zafar, both the armies met at Palasi, where Mir Zafar effected a coup. And this battle was finished in few days only. Then mention Sirajuddaula was captured. And later he was executed. Then mention after his execution, Mir Zafar was appointed as the new Nawab of Bengal. Then, and we call him sponsored Nawab also. Let's understand what is the meaning of the word sponsored, because for the first time it is happening that he has supported anybody who has supported British, and with the British support he is coming to power, meaning that he will be sponsoring the British interest. British are sponsoring him and he will be taking care of the British interest. So before talking about the political regimes or other things associated with him, first let's talk about the repercussions of the Palasi battle. Okay? So what were the outcomes of Palasi battle? So mention a title. Outcomes nahi likho. Better would be the repercussion. So repercussions of Palasi battle. As a title. So first of all, that the prestige of the British might increased in a single stroke. So basically, let's see, it is a monarchical world, and in the monarchical world, whoever is victorious is the one who gets the prestige. Okay? So it increased the prestige of the British in a single stroke, but that is just one small part. The more important, Mir Zafar came to power with the support of the British, and immediately he had to pay from the Bengal treasury. Okay? And what he paid? Immediately he paid 2,75,000 pounds. So 2,75,000 pounds as war indemnity. What is war indemnity? War damage price. Okay? So in one word we say indemnity, but it is, what is that? War damage price. Yuddha ka harzana. So this is immediate amount. Then apart from it, in between 57 to 60, he further paid 22.5 million rupees. So 22.5 million rupees to British. That comes around 2.25 crore rupees to the British in these 3 years. Apart from it, Mir Zafar also gave the zamindari of one such area of the Bengal, which is known as 24 Pargana. So in Bengal, this district is known as 24 Pargana. So the zamindari of the district 24 Pargana was given to the British. Then these are one part. The last is, understand, the one repercussion of the Palasi battle is that the favorable balance of trade which is there with the Bengal, now it has become negative. Now it has become negative. And what is the reason? The Palasi plunder, the loot. And what is the loot? This is the loot. 22.5 million rupees, then 2,75,000 pound, and then apart from it, the zamindari of this area. So because of this loot, Bengal is no more in the profit, and now the Bengali money is used by the British to purchase the goods from the different parts of the world. So flight of the bullion has started from India. What is flight of bullion? Sona jo accumulate hua hai, now the Sona is going back. Okay? So Bengal is going into the impoverished direction. So mention, you're right. Number one, it increased the British prestige. It increased the British prestige in a single stroke. British prestige in a single stroke. Number two, immediately, British were paid 2,75,000 pound. 2,75,000 pounds as war indemnity. It's all written on board, you can see the spelling. As war indemnity. Then mention, next point. In between 1757 to 60, in between 1757 to 60, British were further paid 22.5 million rupees. 22.5 million rupees. Then next one. Mir Zafar also gave them the zamindari right of 24 Pargana. 24 Pargana. Then mention, next point, with the Plassey plunder, British further consolidated their position in India. The loot from Palasi was used. To fund the military campaigns in the different parts of India. Then देन उसके बाद लिखो लास्ट वन, द फेवरेबल बैलेंस ऑफ ट्रेड विथ बंगाल, the favorable balance of trade with Bengal now became negative. Now became negative. The favorable balance of trade with Bengal now became negative. Full stop. The Bengali bullion and money, the Bengali bullion and money was now used by British to purchase the goods from different parts of India, and so as from China, So these were the repercussions of the Plassey battle. Now let's talk about the tenure of the Mir Zafar. So कुछ तो बातें इसी में हो गई, that the tenure of the Mir Zafar, that what he has given to the British. So you just write his name as a title, Mir Zafar, and understand that Mir Zafar is often regarded as the traitor number one in Indian history. Okay? So traitor number one in the Indian history, and moreover, there was nothing like this earlier in the Indian episode. So he has to taste the bitter medicine also. What is it? Very often the demands of the British was increasing. He must have thought in the beginning that he will easily become the Nawab of the Bengal, and then he will be able to take all his decision without any interference of anybody. But then he was proved wrong. British, if they have sponsored him, supported him, so they have done it for their own purpose. Then, and moreover, often the demands were coming. One can ask that ki demand kis baat ki? Okay? So one of the reason of the demand is that British are supporting them militarily. Okay? So British are supporting Bengal militarily, and actually this was the military payment demand which they were making, and that was a huge demand often they were making. So what he did, that he started looking at the alternative options. Then alternative options, and in alternative options he found that he cannot enlist the help of the French because British are dire enemies of the French, and at the same point of time he found a Dutch in the Bengal. So he started negotiation with the Dutch that if they will be providing the sophisticated weapon support and military support to the Bengal. When this news was learnt by the British, so initially they attacked on the Dutch habitation in Bengal, which is Bedara, Hooghly or Chinsura. And the Battle of Bedara happened in 1759, after which the Dutch were defeated, thoroughly defeated. And then next year, they removed Mir Zafar from the power. His son-in-law, Mir Qasim, was appointed as the next Nawab. So mention, you write, Mir Zafar as a title लिखो और title के अंदर लिखो, mention. The demands of British were increasing day by day. The demands of British was increasing day by day, and Mir Zafar felt that he cannot fulfill. Mir Zafar felt that he cannot fulfill all the greeds of British. Full stop. He started negotiation with Dutch. He started negotiation with Dutch to seek military support. Full stop. When it was learnt by British, they attacked on Dutch possession in Bengal. That is at Hooghly, Hooghly, Chinsura, और बेदारा. Hooghly, Chinsura, Bedara. Full stop. In Battle of Bedara, 1759. In Battle of Bedara, 1759, Dutch were thoroughly defeated. In Battle of Bedara, 1759, Dutch were thoroughly defeated. And next year, Mir Zafar was removed from power. Mir Zafar was removed from power. Then you write the name Mir Qasim. Mir Qasim, 1760 to 63. So once again, what kind of Nawab he is? Sponsored. Once again, British are sponsoring him. So he comes to power. And when he will be coming to power, he will also have to fulfill some of the demands of the British. So what he gave to British, first of all, he gave zamindari right of 3 areas. And these areas were Midnapur, Chittagong, and Bardhaman. So these were the 3 areas whose zamindari rights were given to the British. And apart from it, he also gave 29 lakh rupees as a bribe. Then, so zamindari right of the 3 areas, and so as the 29 lakh rupees as a bribe. After it, after this particular bribe and everything, he also felt the heat that British are interfering in the Bengal politics, and it is a very aggressive interference. So now, to cut on these British interference, he decided to shift the capital itself. So capital was Murshidabad. Now the capital was transferred in Bihar. So British, they were writing Munger as this way. Today, how we write Munger? Munger, okay? But this is how British were writing. So he shifted the capital to Munger, where there was no such settlement of the British, so that he can cut back on the British interference. Another decision that he has taken, he abolished all the inland duties. So he abolished all the inland duties. And what is the purpose of it? So British traders are enjoying duty-free trade from long time, and on the other hand, Indian traders, they had to pay the taxes, many taxes. So once the inland duties on the Indian traders are abolished, so their products also become competitive. पहले अगर जो Indian trader का product 20 रुपए का है, तो when the land taxes are abolished, so it becomes 15 rupees. So meaning that people will also be purchasing the Indian traders good. So this is the decision which was not liked by the British. And then it led to the 3 successive fights between Mir Qasim and British. 1763, Mir Qasim has fled from the Bengal, and he has gone to seek the help of the Awadh ruler Sujaud-Dowla, and so as Mughal emperor who is residing in Allahabad, okay, Shah Alam II. And by creating an alliance with them, he goes on to Battle of Buxar, 1764. So mentioned first, Mir Qasim, after coming to power, Mir Qasim, after coming to power, gave the zamindari right of Midnapur, Chittagong, and Bardhaman. Chittagong and Bardhaman to British. Then Bardhaman to British. He also paid 29 lakh rupees to British in this duration, 29 lakh rupees to British in this duration. Then mention. He also realized that it is difficult. He also realized that it is difficult to fulfill the British demand. To fulfill the British demand. To reduce the British interference. To reduce the British interference in Bengal politics. In Bengal politics, he shifted the capital of Bengal. He shifted the capital of Bengal to Munger. ये spelling लिख लेना, Munger, to Munger. He also abolished all the inland duties. All the inland duties to favor Indian traders. All the inland duties to favor Indian traders. Full stop. This decision was highly opposed by British. This decision was highly opposed by British, which led to three successive fights. Which led to three successive fights with British. Three successive fights with British. Full stop. In 1763, Mir Qasim fled to Awadh. To forge, F-O-R-G-E, to forge an alliance with Awadh ruler, Sujaud Dawla and Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II. Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II. So now you write the title, Battle of Buxar. Battle of Buxar, 1764. So now understand. So in Battle of Buxar, the combined army of Sujaud Dawla, Awadh and Mughal Emperor and so as the Bengal, so the strength was around 70,000. Okay? And on the other hand, British army was having the strength of 7,000. So just 1/10 of the combined army. But then there were issues in the combined army. In combined army, what was the issue? Segmentary division. Segmentary divisions. Then, so what is the segmentary division? Awadh, Bengal and Mughal Emperor. And there was not a great coordination between them. So the army of the Bengal was listening only to the Mir Qasim. Army of the Awadh, it was listening only to the Awadh ruler Sujaud Dawla. So there was not great cooperation and there was an issue of the central leadership. On the other hand, this army, British army, was led by Captain Munro. And it was under a central command. Moreover, they had the sophisticated weapons. So outcome, the final result, the combined army was thoroughly defeated, even by the lesser number of the people. Okay? So they were thoroughly defeated. And then after, this particular battle ended with the Treaty of Allahabad. So we'll write Treaty of Allahabad. What was there? Pehle itna likho. So mention, you write the title, Battle of Buxar, 1764. So mention, the combined strength of the combined strength of three armies was around 70,000. Was around 70,000. But there were many segmentary divisions. In combined army. And moreover, there was no central authority. Full stop, then you write. On the other hand, though the British army was one tenth of the combined army, but it operated under the central command. Of Captain Munro. Done. Full stop. Further, British army was laced with sophisticated weapons. On the other hand, British army was laced with further the British army was laced with sophisticated weapons. Full stop. As a result, combined army was thoroughly defeated. Then, now let's come to the last topic, Treaty of Allahabad. 1765. So, Treaty of Allahabad. Now listen. So what were the terms and conditions in the Treaty of Allahabad? Very first one, Mughal Emperor Shah Alam was treated with the respect. So he was treated with the respect. Moreover, British also assured him 26 lakh rupees annual payment. But then, ये कहाँ से? किस बात के लिए annual payment? He is defeated. So annual payment is why so? Because of the second thing. And what is the second thing? British were given Diwani right of Bihar, Bengal and Odisha. So these three areas, Bihar, Bengal and Odisha. So, and what is this Diwani right? Revenue collection right. तो अब अलग अलग से जमींदारी देने का मतलब नहीं है. Entire Bengal, Bihar, Odisha has been given. So entire revenue will be collected by the British. So this is a very important right which British have got. In fact, it is said that in the history of the British East India Company, this was the most important win because their incomes are going to increase in leaps and bounds. Then mention. So listen. So this was one part, but you might be thinking, बीच में कुछ questions भी उठेंगे कि that why Mughal Emperor was respected, and second is that Odisha तो already it was given to the Marathas. How come over here? So actually in 1761, when the Battle of Panipat will happen, once again Odisha will come back to the Bengal. Okay? And this is happening in 1765. So once again Odisha is there with the Bengal, and that's how it is given to the British at this time. Then after, what about the Awadh ruler Sujaud-Daula? So Awadh ruler Sujaud-Daula became alliance partner of the British, and he also paid some amount. Okay? So alliance partner, and how much amount he paid? So 5 million rupees, which is 50 lakh rupees he paid to the British as war indemnity. What about the Mir Qasim? Mir Qasim was exiled from Bengal, never to return back. And it is said that Mir Qasim died in abject poverty in Delhi itself. So he was living in the ridge area of the Delhi. After this episode, nobody recognized him that who he was. and he was living in the abject poverty with just few stuff. His death happened in the Delhi. So that is one part. And then the last is dual system of administration. Dual system of administration started in Bengal. And what is this dual system of administration? So there are two functions in administration: Nizamat function and Diwani function. So Nizamat function was to be looked after by the Bengal Nawab, who is to be appointed by the British. And then Diwani function. So what is Diwani? Revenue collection. It is to be done by the British themselves. So Nizamat function was to be, and what is Nizamat? Civil administration. So civil administration will be managed by the Bengal Nawab, and this Nawab is appointed by the British. And then Diwani function is to be managed by the British. So this is the dual system of administration which continued till 1770s, and then after it was discontinued. So we'll see in the acts and the policies what started after 1773. So एक बार लिखो, mention करो. Mughal Emperor Shah Alam was treated with respect. Full stop. He was also assured 26 lakh. He was also assured 26 lakh annual payment by British. 26 lakh annual payment by British. Next. British got Diwani right. British got Diwani right of Bihar, Bengal and Odisha. British got Diwani right of Bihar, Bengal and Odisha. And in brackets you write revenue collection rights. Revenue collection right. Then next point you mention. After it, what we have? Awadh became alliance partner. Awadh became alliance partner of British. And Awadh ruler paid 50 lakh rupees as war indemnity. War indemnity. Next. Mir Qasim was exiled from Bengal. Mir Qasim was exiled from Bengal. Next one. Dual system of administration. Dual system of administration started in Bengal. Dual system of administration started in Bengal, whereby Nizamat function or civil administration was managed by Bengal Nawab appointed by British. Bengal Nawab appointed by British. Full stop. Diwani function उसी में लिखो, ठीक है? Diwani function was to be looked after by British. So now listen, a last question is basically that why Mughal emperor was treated with respect, and the question is that why not British are victorious so they could have ruled the Bengal, okay? Why they are respecting Mughal emperor and why they are not taking the entire power immediately. So there are two reasons, okay? two, three reasons, not just two. First of all, Mughal emperor was treated with the respect. The question is the legitimacy. That it is a small word, but it has a bigger connotation. Mughal rule is there in India from 1526. And by this point of time, that even if the people have their own grievances and the complaints, but then the people have respected the Mughal legitimacy. They have accepted the Mughal authority. So all of a sudden, removing the Mughal emperor from the power, still there are many such regional powers who are respecting the Mughal emperor. So maybe there would be some revolt from their side. Then and that will be a precarious situation for the British. So they were trying to safeguard themselves from all the sides. Then apart from it, second is that still it is a private company. British East India Company is a private company. And what is the biggest motive of a private company? Profit maximization. Okay? So with this victory, they are getting all the profit. Revenue collection right मिल गया, अब इससे ज़्यादा profit क्या चाहिए? But if they take the welfare administration in their hand, so they will have to spend the money also. So they don't want to spend the money on welfare administration. They just want to maximize their profit. So that is the second reason. And moreover, they also want to send a message in the society कि though we have defeated Mughal emperor, but we also trust, we also respect him. So a kind of that you can say that grapevine will be there in the society that see that they are victorious, but still they are very respectful. Then, so that is also the message they wanted to convey. Then what else is remaining? Why they themselves did not rule? You can find it over here itself. That this is a slow process, or in the gradual way they want to establish themselves, not all of a sudden. And that was the reason behind their victories and their establishment in India. And moreover, by the 1849, this is slowly they have proceeded and they have captured more than 80% of India. So these are the reasons that we needed to count. So now we are done with the Bengal episode. Kal to class nahi hai. So in the next week, whenever we are meeting, we'll be starting with the Mysore. So one class से थोड़ा सा कम ही लगेगा Mysore में, and then we'll start the Maratha episode. Okay? So in the upcoming two classes, we'll be able to complete all the regional powers, and then we'll start with the acts and commissions. ठीक है? So पहले regulating act से start करेंगे 1773. ठीक है? चलो, meet you next week.